First, I just want to thank everybody for joining. Big thank you to Rianna as well for coming on. I know she's a busy lady playing at the highest level. So thank you, Rianna, for joining us. Anna, can we hear just a little bit from you with different voice? We definitely don't need an introduction really, but if you want to just say a few words, that'd be great.
Hi guys, so my name's Rianna Jarrett. I'm obviously playing professional football here in the UK and then also for the Republic of Ireland. Went to college with Claire, so know her both as a player and as a coach. So I'm looking forward to this tonight.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Rianna. Just tune in to Rianna right now. And we're going to get her on the spotlight. There we are. Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Kick it off. I just want you to maybe just give the guys a little background, where you're from, where you started playing.
Yeah, so my name's Rianna Jarrett. I'm 26 and I'm from Wexford, which is in the southeast of Ireland. So I have a twin brother, so naturally as twins we wanted everything that the other person had, whether it was food, whether it was toys. And when my twin brother Jordan started playing football, we were about 6 or 7. My mom took him up to the local boys team and him and my cousin started together. And we went up, we watched, and I was playing on the sideline with some other kids. And when we got home, I was like, Mom, can I please go and play football with the boys next week? And at the start, she was like, no, football's not for girls. She was like, we'll get you something else. And I think for the remainder of the week until Jordan had training again, I think I annoyed her so much that she brought me up and let me join in and ask could I get involved. And it was me and my cousin Saoirse were the only 2 girls on that specific team at the time. My mom didn't think I'd stick at it, but here I am 20 years later still playing. So definitely if it wasn't for my twin brother, I probably wouldn't have got involved in football, or I definitely wouldn't have got involved in it at such a young age. We formed girls teams and women's teams when I was that little bit older, but I definitely learned the early days of my trade playing on the boys teams or playing on the street with the boys or in school with boys, and kind of just progress from there.
So do you think there was some sorts of benefits from playing with the boys, and up to how long?
Yeah, I think for me, it definitely stood to me. We were unfortunate, Claire, me and you, that they stopped us playing with the boys when we were, 12 or 13?
Yeah.
I think now in Ireland, you can play up until 15s or 16s at least. I think for me, playing with the boys from under 8s right up to under 12s, it was probably the best thing for me, especially because I grew when I was maybe 10 or 11. I got a good growth spurt, so I was a lot physical, a lot bigger than the rest of the girls. So it stood to me playing with the boys. You have to learn to think quicker because boys are naturally that little bit faster than what girls are as well. You have to be quicker with the ball. You have to think better, think faster, but you also have to learn how to use your body very quickly. Because once the boys get used to you playing alongside them, they'll put in the same sort of tackles that they would any other boys. And I think for me, that definitely stood to me. And I wouldn't change it for the world. As I said, the best parts of my days were coming home after school, getting changed, grabbing the football and going and playing on the street with my brothers and the rest of the lads. And it was no different when we went into training. And it's great when they see a girl and they can see that they can hold their own, because as I said, they'll put in those tackles, but not only that, they'll trust you with the ball. They'll include you like you're one of the boys, really. And I think for me, that was a great thing growing up.
Yeah, no doubt you were bossing physicality against the boys right up. Opinion, do you think there's a certain age that you should maybe cut away and start, because again, as females as well, it's a social aspect and it's important for, because that's the other side, that's the side that you might miss out on, or do you think that's important, or there's a relevance with that side of things?
To be honest, I think right up to under 18s, I don't see the issue with girls playing alongside boys. Yes, you're saying that boys get their growth spurts and obviously puberty comes into play, but I think if a girl is playing with the boys the whole way up, even as the boys start to transition, if girls have been involved in that team with them, they're gonna grow with them on the pitch. It's not as if a girl is all of a sudden just one day not play with boys and then going to play with under 16s. It isn't going to be a transition like that. So I think if a girl is holding her own and can do it, I think why stop them at a younger age? I think it can sometimes prevent them from growing. Because no doubt about it, a lot of the girls' teams, especially when girls' teams are just starting up, if you bring a girl that's been playing with boys' teams for 5 or 6 years into a newly formed girls' teams, they're gonna stand out. And especially if the leagues are newly formed, then you're gonna stop that particular player from growing. I know in Ireland they've changed it now that I think girls that are under 16, I think you can play a year down when you're a girl. So if you're 16, you can play under 15s. I think that's a great thing, especially if they are worried about the physicality or the boys getting their specific growth spurts. As I said, I think the longer that you can play with boys, the better. In a lot of boys teams as well, there's more tactics as well, which you learn the game and you can see the game in a different aspect. Until the girls teams continue to grow and start from a young age, I think there's no harm in girls playing with boys teams for as long as possible. That's the most important part when you go to college. Yes, you're there to go and play football, but it's still about your academics, and there's always people there to help you stay on track. And if you're not hitting your grades, then you're not eligible to play the sport that you're there for. So there's loads of people there to help. So they help you pick your class schedule around the roster as such for the games and training that you're going to do. And then obviously they're aware that if you have a double header away, you might travel on a Wednesday and not be back until the Monday. But they're there to help. Your coaches are there to help. If you need a tutor, they're there to help. And then also your teammates are. So I'd say to anyone that is considering it's a fantastic opportunity, but just be careful on the opportunity that you take. There are a lot of schools out there, and not all schools have the same facilities or can offer you the same thing. I was fortunate enough that I went on a full scholarship, and the only thing I had to pay for was the flights, which was fantastic. So definitely look at all your options. Don't just jump at the first one that comes to you. Get advice from people. Obviously, if you have to go and visit a college, go and see your surroundings, go and see the coaches, get used to the people before you make any decisions to commit to anything would be my biggest advice. National team in 2019 in the Rose Bowl, and there was like 30,000+. They were on their victory tour after winning the World Cup in France. Just an unbelievable experience, and for me, like it's not a competitive game. There's nothing at stake, but you could see the excitement in the fans when the players came out into the pitch and the players taking time to kind of walk around to different sides of the stadium. Like it's unbelievable. And it's like that here in England because the women's game is continuing to grow and you've got these top teams that are investing in. You look at United, their women's team is only around for 3 years, and they're currently sitting third in the Women's Super League because they're starting to invest money. And I think it's next Sunday or Saturday for the first time they're playing in Old Trafford, the women's team are.
Oh, wow.
And hopefully that the women's game is going to continue to grow. We'll start to get more fans and we'll start to be playing and sharing the stadiums with the men's team here in Brighton. They're actually expanding the men's training ground for us at the minute. It was due to be finished in January this year, but with everything due to COVID, it's been delayed. But by the time we come back for pre-season, the end of June, start of July, we're going to have our own building, our own pitches at the men's training ground. So our own place that we can call home, that we don't have to worry about clearing out for when the men have a game or anything like that. And the more that clubs start to do that, the more the women's game is going to grow, and the more connection then that we can have, not only with the fans, but also the club, not only the women's section, but the men's section as well. And it's exciting times.
As a young player, how much unstructured practice did you do on a weekly basis?
Oh, I done loads. As I said, from a kid, it was always come home from school, get changed. I wouldn't even have my dinner. Mom used to kill me if I get my dinner, grab a football and go out on the street with the boys or by myself. If you have a ball and a wall or a couple of objects, that is literally all that you need. And that's what I done mostly when I was younger.
A ton of favorite questions. So what's your favorite move? What's your favorite position? Who was your idol growing up?
So my idol growing up was Thierry Henry. I'm an Arsenal fan, so he used to play with Arsenal, one of the best strikers in the Premier League. And then also Robbie Keane, who is without a doubt Ireland's best goal scorer and striker. My favourite position has to be a striker. It's where I've spent most of my career playing. I used to be a midfielder, but because of what I like to see my natural eye for goal, I managed to move that a little bit further. And in terms of my favorite move, nothing beats seeing the ball hit the back of the net for me. I think it's just one of the best feelings in the world, because coaches don't only care about what happens when you're there for that hour or that hour and a half. They care about you as a person. They're there to help you grow both on and off the pitch. And I think once you can have that honesty and that openness with a coach, if you are struggling with anything, even if it is outside of football, that they can help you, even if you think they can't. And I think especially once you come into like your teenage years and you start to get a little bit older, it's important that you realize that you have people that you can rely on, that you can trust and confide in. And I think once you do that, they say like a problem shared is a problem halved. And I think I really learned that going through those difficult times.
And you're really brave in saying that and speaking out, and it's definitely something that needs to be said a lot more. And you know, you're not on your own, and we do need to be encouraging players to speak and talk. But I think you have to take a bit of credit for that yourself. Honestly, I just want to kind of pick your brain one more. I know we're going to wrap up then Alessandra's question, but psychological techniques, imagery, like self-talk, you know, you must have all of that going on, whether you know it or not, because I get it. You're so positive. Like, I've always admired you for just being so positive, so laid back. I'd be stressing out about college, and Rianna be telling me to relax, everything's gonna be okay. And it like you say, your friends are around you and stuff, but I think you have to take some of that credit for that.
I think for me, I think growing up, it was like more like my stubbornness is why I'm the way I am. It's like I'd never let anything like get to me so much that I couldn't control it or feel like I couldn't control it. And for me, it's the same on the pitch and off the pitch. It's about controlling the controllables. There's a lot of things in life, there's a lot of things in sport that you can't control. And if you let all of those little things eat you up, then ultimately you are going to find ways to be negative. And definitely with the self-talk that you manage, there's enough negativity going on in the world. There's enough negativity going on towards women's sport, women's athletes. And I think if you can find a way to talk good to yourself, to kind of give yourself those little boosts, to kind of give yourself 5 or 6 seconds to reset and remember everything that you've done or everything that you've accomplished, and then what's gotten you to where you are. And then if you can figure out then that path to get to where you want to be, or to get to that next stage in your life, I think it can definitely help you. If you're having a bad day, or you're unsure, or you're lacking in confidence, I think the easiest thing to do is to look back on all the good things that you've done. It's easy to sit there and like hammer yourself about making a bad pass or having a bad game or having a bad week's training, but it doesn't define you. It's like, can you always find the path to those good memories, those good actions, those good comments from your coaches, from your family? And I think once you kind of store just 1 or 2 of them to get you out of those tough times, it's what will help. And I think that's what got me through, especially my last recovery. The last time I done my ACL was the hardest, because as I said, I was questioning whether I could come back, whether I wanted to come back, whether it was worthwhile. And I think the penny just dropped one day when I went to watch my old team train, and never missed a training session, never missed a match, even when I was injured. And I could just see the fun that they were having on the pitch at training. And I was like, that's why I play. And once I remembered why I played the game, it wasn't obviously as a child I wanted to play international level, I wanted to be a professional, but that wasn't why I played the game. I played the game because I loved it, and I stuck at it because I loved the game. Once I remembered why, that was all the fire that I needed, and that was the only thing that I needed to get me through, to get me back on the pitch.
And that's a great message as well to everyone. And it was said earlier, it's that we all play because we love it and our passion for the game, and try to keep that spark. It's definitely a great message. I'm just going to go to Alessandra to unmute herself. I know she's been dying to ask this question for the past hour. Again, this is our feature player, so just go ahead there, Alessandra.
Hi, my name's Alessandra. It's really nice to meet you. I have 2 questions for you, if that's okay. So what's your pre-match routine, and what is the main difference between playing international and top-level club football?
So my pre-match routine is I try to keep it as small as I can, so that no matter where I am, no matter who I'm playing, no matter how I get to a game, that it's something that I can do consistently. The difference is we have a lot more contact hours with each other. We have a lot more of a bond. We kind of know each other, kind of the ins and outs. Whereas when you go to international level, yes, we know each other, but it's that pride, it's that passion, it's a different feeling playing for your country. You're not only playing for yourself and that 11 or that 23 that are involved. You're playing for your family. You're playing for your friends, your cousins, your teammates, and I think putting on an Ireland jersey, nothing will ever compare to it, and I'll never get used to it. Standing up for the national anthem. My nanny, my mum, my auntie, they still cry every time the national anthem is being played. I think it's just that pride and that passion, because I think anyone can play at club level, but there's only a select few that can say that they've played for their country, and it's something that I'll never forget and I'll never take for granted.
Excellent. Excellent answers, and that's why I knew, Rianna Jarrett, we would go over time, but you're giving us everything here and we're loving it and we're eating it up. And I'm sorry, but we do have one more question. It was put in the chat box, and it was one of my questions that I was going to ask you as well. Who was your toughest opponent that you've come up against? So you mentioned your favorite opponents, but who have you really come up against in maybe international or women's or the WSL?
I think at international, the toughest player that I feel is Julie Ertz. Just the way she plays for the US women's national team, just her physicality, her athleticism, but then also just her quality on the ball. Literally couldn't get near her when we were playing them. And I think she's one of the players that goes unnoticed amongst a team full of stars for them. And then at club level, I think one of the best strikers in the game, undoubtedly at the minute, has to be Miedema, who's a Dutch international. I think she's joint top scorer of all time in the Women's Super League, and she's been here since 2017.
Arsenal?
Yeah, Arsenal player. She's phenomenal. She can go missing for 90 minutes in a game, but she'll still score.
And that's all that matters, isn't it? Really getting it in the back of the net. That's going to get you goals. I had a question as well on who you'd sign. If you had to sign anybody, who would you sign?
Oh, if I could sign anybody. It's biased, but I'd sign Denise O'Sullivan. She'd be my first player on every team sheet, because her doing the dirty work allows me to play my game.
Yeah.
She's phenomenal. And as I said, like I learned a lot from her playing at club level with her for 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, she's defensively as well. She cleans everything up, but then, like you said, on the ball, she can play a diag and feed you in and get you goals. Yeah, that's all really. Now, does anybody else have anything? Because I know we have taken a lot of Rianna's time. Rianna, you are a legend, honestly. Thank you for your time and your story. I hope, and I think you have touched on and touched a lot of players and coaches, and me included in that. You've really been a great role model for them, and it's good to hear how positive you are, because especially during these times, we're still not back on the pitch with our teams and with our girls. So I think this boost hopefully will encourage them to stay motivated and stay focused. And they appreciate your advice. I know they do. So thank you so much.
No worries. I said thanks for having me on, and I just want to wish you all the best. Hopefully you can get back on the pitch sooner rather than later, but I think these sort of things are fantastic. I've actually really enjoyed like the little skills and the little setup that you had. I was actually quite fascinated watching both yours and Natalie's setup. So I think that's great for the girls. Although you can't be there in person, there's still a lot that you can get done remotely, which will certainly stand to you when you're back on the pitch. And I think you can touch on those finer details that you mightn't be able to do kind of every session, which is fantastic.
100%. And I hope the players can take that message home.